the sun slowly descending. The sky is all I see. It's never ending. We could fly, you and I, on a cloud, kissing, kissing. The wind plays with the leaves, the weather turns colder. But as long as we believe, love doesn't get older. We could fly, you and I, on a cloud, kissing, kissing. On the journey of the heart, there's so much to see. When the sky is dark, you'll be ready, right here with me. Right here with you. Kissing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. When the beat drops down, oh, no, 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 no. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. When the beat drops down, oh, no, 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 no. When the beat drops out and the people gone, will you still be there for me, child? And when the lights go out and the morning come, will you still be there for me, child? When the beat drops out.
This webinar will begin shortly. Just a few reminders before we start. This webinar session is being recorded. Take down notes and ask questions through the Q&A chat box or click the raise hand button. We will be answering them during the panel discussion.
A better future is built by the brave, envisioned by brilliant minds, born from the passions of thousands strong. One that isn't without risk, but protected from it. Safe from all the worries and secure for what's to come. Because a better future with the greatest empires, the strongest communities, and the happiest families will always be worth having. That's why the bold and the fearless understand that recreating something better takes courage and strength. So together, let's start shaping a better future today.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending our first ever hospitality and professional services event entitled Breaking the Digital Divide, Enhancing and Sustaining Workflows of Enterprises Beyond the Pandemic. And today, I just wanted to check in with everyone. How are you all doing? First of all, we are mighty glad that you are joining us today. Thank you for carving time out of your busy schedules to be with us. I hope that wherever it is that you are watching this webinar from, you are safe and you are well. Now, today, we have a slew of notable speakers coming from diverse backgrounds who will share their stories on how they are at the forefront of helping businesses in these troubling times. Now, the professional services and hospitality industry continue to have operational challenges in this global health crisis with the constant need to adapt to the erratic business landscape while relaunching their operations. Who can relate? I'm pretty sure everyone can. Do let us know in the chat section, okay? Now, with the rise of digital transformation, allow us to assist you in leading a digital culture for your company with tailor-fit business solutions that cater to your enterprise needs. Without further ado, let us officially start off our session this morning with the opening remarks from one of the distinguished leaders in Globe Business. Guests, let us give a virtual welcome to the Cluster Head and Sales Director for Hospitality and Professional Services Industry, Karen Cafe.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for that, Jelly. So here at Globe Business, we are committed to provide you, our dear clients, with thought leadership discussion to address the growing needs of our professional services and hospitality sector. The pandemic took a toll on our economy, and suddenly people lost their jobs, with contracts no longer renewed and even pay cuts being implemented. Some companies have already closed, while others are barely thriving. This is why we want to continue to support you, our esteemed clients, with engagements that are indeed to provide you with innovative ways on how to keep our businesses thriving despite the setback we are all facing. Both our speakers and you are encouraged, dear guests, to exchange ideas and explore possible ways of adapting to a new work setup, improving business goals, and simplifying processes. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope after this event, we can have successful dialogues with your account managers and solution partners in making a comeback in the resurgence of your organization. This is Karen Cafe, your services and hospitality industry head, welcoming you all in this lively webinar. Thank you, and back to you, Jelly.
Thank you very much, Karen. I couldn't agree more on all of those points that you mentioned. And on a more personal note, as a host, I come from the entertainment and professional services industry. And boy, oh boy, it was indeed a challenging 2020, but mighty glad that several people in the industry pivoted very quickly. And that's why I still have a job. Okay, before we proceed with the rest of our event, good morning and greetings from the Bay. That's coming in from Mary Joyce Tarosa. Thank you, Mary Joyce. Hello as well to Peter Favorada. I hope I'm saying your surname correctly, saying good day to all. Please do not hesitate to message on the chat box. Say hello to all of the fellow attendees. If you have any questions or reactions to the presentations, please send that over in the chat box as well. That way, you give us enough time to collate all of your questions, and every chance I get, I will say hello to you and acknowledge your messages. Okay? So we are now going to move on. Thankfully, we are now seeing more ways to improvise our craft. We're navigating this better normal. I would like to say better normal rather than, the new normal. So we have improvised our craft and we can now continue our business. That is exactly what we are hoping to impart to all of you today. Just how to improvise, changes you need to implement so you can actually continue with your business. Let's do that, shall we? To kick things off, it is my delight to introduce our first speaker this morning. She is a business consulting partner based here in Metro Manila with extensive experience across Southeast Asia, Oceania, and the Middle East, and most especially in the Philippines. During her tenure with YCP Solidians, she has largely worked on growth strategy, competitive intelligence, commercial feasibility, commercial due diligence, and market entry engagements for clients in the building materials, automotive, automation, chemicals, logistics, healthcare, and technology sectors. Oh my, she's been involved in numerous industries. To talk about the trends and outlook in the professional services sector in Asia, please welcome Ana Relyama.
Thank you so much, Jelly, and a pleasant morning to everyone who is tuned in particular for this 10-minute segment where we will speak about the pandemic impact and trends on professional services and hospitality in the Philippines. So before anything else, let me first speak about myself. My name is Anna, and I'm in front of you today as a service provider myself, more specifically in consulting services. So professionally, I've been consulting since around 2013, doing project work across 6 continents, most especially, of course, in the Philippines. Today, I'm a partner at YCP Solidians, which for those of you who do not know us, essentially is the advisory arm of YCP Group. I say arm because on top of advisory, YCP Group also engages in principal investments in Asia in a number of verticals. Together through our about 17 offices, which are mostly in Asia, we've worked with quite a few hundred companies, some of which you see here. Okay, without further ado, let's move on to the more interesting stuff about how the pandemic really has impacted the professional services and hospitality sectors in the country. Now, first and foremost, of course, COVID-19 is still around and spiking in this past few weeks on account of what is definitely the onset of the Delta variant. With Metro Manila's official graduation from the ECQ system to the alert level system, it's clear that the coronavirus will continue to cause uncertainties in business operations moving forward. Now, the good news, however, is that vaccination is forging ahead, now averaging hundreds of thousands of doses administered per day. Now, this has resulted in about 20 million fully vaccinated citizens to date, which translates to about 18% of the population. Now, because herd immunity is targeted at about 70%, this is expected to still take at least a few months, especially as vaccine logistics prove to be slightly more challenging in the islands. Nevertheless, with our economic fundamentals intact, it can only be expected that recovery and growth will carry on moving forward. And it's these 2 words that I want you to remember: recovery and growth, because this recovery and growth is actually well in line with what the Asian Development Bank forecasted for the Philippines earlier this year, where the country, which as you can see is the red line, despite contracting the most in 2020, unfortunately, is poised to bounce back to reclaim its spot as one of the fastest growing economies in Southeast Asia from 2021 onwards. Now, if we just break this down across sectors, what you can see on this slide is how this growth translates to the different industries that we have driving our economy. What's interesting to note here is that although construction, for instance, accommodation, food services, historically exhibited the highest growth, the impact of the pandemic on these sectors are also highest for obvious reasons, right? So it's unlikely that this impact will be immediately reversed. And what this really calls for are cautious, careful steps from sector participants such as yourselves and ourselves in accordance with market trends. Now, the first of these trends that I would like to bring to your attention is, of course, the irreversible and accelerated rate of digitalization that we see everywhere. We've seen this in virtually every aspect of our lives, from e-commerce to fintech to on-demand couriers and so on. Now, within professional services, this encompasses the shift from customer visits to video calls, from business cards to e-signatures, and from in-person tax submissions even to online ones. So I think we can all appreciate that the digitization of government platforms. Sure, they're still far from perfect at this point, but at least we are seeing progress on nearly all fronts, and that is what's important. I say nearly, however, because there remains to be parts of the economy that cannot be simply digitized and resolved, right? And these include, of course, your international tourism and mobility, among other things. Now, from the business development standpoint, not all applications can easily be shifted to the digital world. So as restrictions really continue to be in place, a pivot among stakeholders, such as those in the hospitality sector, for instance, will need to be the focus accordingly. Now, as you can see on this page, we still see between -40 to 65% net differences between current mobility levels versus pre-COVID levels. So market conditions will continue to demand adaptability, creativity, flexibility from companies such as yourselves. Now, this flexibility is further highlighted actually in our third trend, which emphasizes how hybrid work is likely here to stay. I'm sure the majority of you are actually dialing in from home right now, and that is really just reality, and it shall be for the near future at least. But what this implies, of course, is the need for whatever tools that can allow our employees to be as productive at home as they would in the office. Now, regardless of whether you're in finance, sales, marketing, human resources, planning, legal, and so on, there will be that baseline or common set of requirements, right, within an organization, and there will always be specialized ones. In all cases, it's important to keep in mind how we move now to our fourth trend, that infrastructure levels still lag in the Philippines overall. So sure, while it's likely that businesses will be generating savings, for instance, from employing asset-light operations, and no matter how tempting it is to keep these as savings, it is highly advisable to channel parts of this to tools and systems that can maintain and improve business productivity, even amidst a pandemic. Now, business productivity can only be really achieved when remote employees, right? Everybody now is a remote employee at some point. But it's important that these remote employees are likewise productive. And in most cases, it falls upon employers to ensure how to push for this. This leads us actually to our fifth trend, rather, which highlights the evolving employer-employee dynamics within professional service providers. Now, this evolution ranges from basic attendance monitoring, health benefit adjustments, but in all cases, there may need to be a shift to more outcome-based business models which can be a bit more complex to execute and monitor, especially if we're doing this very, very, very quickly, right? Now, this again brings us back to potential tools which can facilitate these changes seamlessly, even in organizations that are thousands in size. This enhances productivity on the one hand, of course, but also incurs costs. And it's actually this cost aspect that often becomes the hurdle for many MSMEs and even large businesses from adopting tools as frequently and as deeply as they probably should. Now, this limitation is highlighted in our final trend, where we shed light on the potentially widening digital divide among MSMEs, for instance, where as many still hesitate in digitizing because of the lack of information on what to do, as well as the lack of funds overall. Now, with Philippine talent, as you can see on the right chart here, additionally pegged as not as ready for the influx of digitalization by the World Economic Forum, it will be vital to bundle any and all digitization initiatives with user experience, employee experience, capacity building, and upskilling initiatives overall. In short, the pandemic and digitization may be coming at us very, very fast, but we still need to be going about this carefully to ensure sustainability and inclusion for everyone. So, to summarize, these are the 6 trends that I would like to leave with you today before I end my presentation today. Rapid digitalization, changing customer dynamics, hybrid work, asset-light setups, evolving workplace expectations, and the widening digital divide. So I trust this will sufficiently set the baseline for the dialogues that will follow. But this in general concludes my segment. Thank you for your attention, everyone, and over to you again, Jelly.
Thank you very much, Anna. It is without a doubt, businesses have experienced a big blow because of this pandemic, but it is also good to talk about a fresh perspective on the trends and insights that Anna has shared. You know, I was very busy writing down all of the 6 trends that she mentioned, and then it was so nice to get a recap from Anna, but the one that really stood out for me was the irreversible and accelerated growth of digitalization. But of course, we still do encounter businesses that hesitate to go fully digital. Like Anna has said, it's probably because of the resources. They don't know how to go about it. But that's exactly why we have this event this morning. We're going to have those dialogues to help you out, just in case you have any hesitations or worries when it comes to going fully digital or at least embracing digitalization. Thank you again, Anna. Now, at this juncture, we would like to introduce to you our next partner from Squadsit, who is here to talk about how businesses can still grow by adapting different tools that drive revenue in the digital space while maintaining optimal service to clients. Our speaker is a seasoned hotelier with over 12 years of experience managing hotel operations. He pioneered the opening of the Venetian Macau Resort Hotel, the Sheraton Macau, and the Shangri-La at the Fort in Bonifacio Global City. He was also a facilitator and trainer in Playworks Philippines Incorporated, running over 200 events all over the corporate world. Now he is the Vice President for Business Development of Squadsit. I would like to introduce to all of you this morning, Mr. Raymond Villanueva.
Thank you very much, Jelly. And it's really great to be here. Get to see everyone. Sorry about my background. All right. I really also picked up a lot of important points from Anna earlier, but let me add on and maybe zero in into some parts of, especially on trends 5 and 6. So again, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. And thank you for attending my session today on making remote work productive. So we'll start by discussing how businesses are operating today. Yeah, businesses operate, obviously business operations vary, and this determines the type of work arrangement that is implemented. There are companies that continue to report physically. Others have transitioned to a full remote work, while others adopted a hybrid work, which is a mix of the earlier two. Just to share, there was a Gartner survey that showed that almost 37% of companies mentioned they plan to shift some employees to a permanent remote work arrangement. This means that remote work may be here to stay. So expecting that remote work will be part of our now normal, it is important for businesses to set guidelines to manage the team's productivity. An article released by Harvard Business Review states that a company that is not able to properly manage a team's time, effort, and resources can stand to drop up to 6% in productivity. However, a team that has proper guidelines in place to monitor these resources can stand to gain up to 8% of productivity or more. So you see, policies are important. They basically serve as a comprehensive guideline for the teams, giving them a roadmap for success. So when our team in Squadsit released our remote work policies back in March 2020, our leadership team studied the successful policies of global companies like Amazon. So our COO, Mon, posted our policy on Squadsit, and it's for all employees to see, to be able to refer back by using that blue hashtag that you see in the screen, which we call zip tags. So giving attention to core working hours allows teams to enter work mode, and clocking in is more than just an attendance check, but it's really a way to inform your teams that you're ready to jump into meetings and calls. Clocking out allows one to also separate or segregate their work from personal time. Next thing, on point number 4, you have setting daily goals or itineraries and tasks. These will really help teams stay focused on what they have set out to do. It shifts the attention from counting the number of hours they work to the number of goals they accomplish. It really helps them plan their work and work their plan. So I'll share some of the hesitations that businesses expressed when asked to work remotely. So these are actual issues that were raised by some clients as we met with them. So the first one I will tackle would be capturing signatures for approval. Now, signatures are needed for approvals. Sure, fine, that's important. There are many tools available in the market, and I'll share some that work for us. So we used Adobe Acrobat and DocuSign, but since Adobe Acrobat is free, I'll focus on that. So it allows you to access a PDF file or open PDF files. And the good thing here, if you haven't tried it yet, is that you can actually add your digital signature on a document. So whether it's an internal document for approval or for approving applications, so it's easy to affix your digital signature and even send it to the next person, whether it's for them to sign as well or for them to keep. It can even be sent out as a link. Now, just to share with you, we do have Republic Act 8792 that recognizes the validity or legality of electronic signatures. On Squadsit, we can get approvals done on our platform, whether it's for expense reports or whether through it's your daily posts. It basically uses a signature capture device within the platform. We call it Squadsit Inc. And it allows you to affix a signature and capture it, make it part of the post. So the next challenge I will discuss would be accessing files. So many companies still keep their physical files in filing cabinets. And I'll be honest, it takes too much real estate. Now, imagine if a folder has been lost or misplaced or mislabeled, it'll be close to impossible to find it. Local drives work fantastically, but imagine having your files accidentally deleted by somebody else. You'll need to ask the help of your IT to actually revert the backup, which takes a lot of time. So it wastes your time in just waiting for your files to be reverted back. So it is important to have an effective way to access their files as if we were still in the office. Now, our solution offers unlimited file and photo storage kept in the cloud using AWS. And this is something that you can access from anywhere. So it's easy and instantly organized through keywords, which is found in the zip tags associated with it. But there are a lot of productivity suites that our partners in Globe Telecom can also offer your businesses. The most famous ones are Microsoft Office 365 and Google Workspace. They give your businesses your own emails, drive space, messaging apps, video conferencing tools, and admin controls, which are actually great. But if you're only looking for drive space in specific, so here are some that you can actually explore. Most have similar features with one another. the prices differ based on the storage space that you need. What's great is that you can collaborate on shared files, sync folders, and the extra feature that I find present with OneDrive and Dropbox is that you can actually place a limitation on the date when a file is shared with someone. So they can only access it for a limited time only. Okay. Now, another challenge that we've actually experienced is collaboration. But you know what? With today's technology, it's actually easy if you equip your teams with the right tools. So our team uses Google Workspace, and it really allows us to work on the same file together. So we can edit different parts of the document or even use a chat function. There's even a way to assign tasks to fellow people within that document. Microsoft Office Online can also do this, just to share with you guys. So companies actually use chat apps and collaboration tools. But just to note, chat apps are not enterprise grade. So let me repeat that. They are not enterprise grade, hence they can pose security issues. Squadsit is also a collaboration tool, but that's as easy to use as social media and as powerful as an enterprise platform. So it provides you with that premium security. Okay. Now, video conferencing tools are also super important. They help with collaboration, and here are the three that we use mostly for our teams. So I'll share what I like, what I like or enjoy about each one. So there are a lot of features, but I'll focus on probably one or two. Google Meet is fast and easy. I like the Jamboard function. Basically acts as a whiteboard that the participants can share and jot down, and everyone can just collaborate on a clear white screen. You can save it and send it to everyone for further collaboration. Another thing is that sharing screen on Google Meet, though, is a bit difficult for me because as a presenter, when I share my screen on Google Meet, I don't see my attendees. So I think I'm not quite sure if they're still kept engaged. On Microsoft Teams, I really think that they are very thoughtful since they have and offer a seamless transfer between devices. So imagine you could be on the go and jump out of your desktop meeting and shift that immediately onto your phone without having to leave the meeting room and re-entering later on. So I think that's what I like about Microsoft Teams. And my personal favorite is Zoom. And I believe most companies should maximize the feature that they have called Breakout Rooms. Basically what this does is that it breaks your big or larger meetings into smaller focused discussions. So you can eventually get everyone back in the main plenary afterwards. The thing is, an important issue to note is that another challenge that companies raise why they are not adopting to remote work is the lack of trust. Many are used to equating productivity with seeing teams working physically together. The thought of remote work probably gives this image in the heads of most leaders, okay, that we're not productive, which is absolutely not true. So companies even have reverted to constant phone calls, video calls, just to check, or even asking employees to fill in manual daily activity report sheets, which even take up time, which they could spend being more productive. Now, our platform makes it easy to report key activities through 2-minute templated posts, validated by time and location stamps. You can quantify and gamify key activities through these zip tags that you can set. And of course, management gains access to real-time dashboards and analytics. Now, we're almost wrapping up. So the last challenge, but not the least, is remote hiring. Now, many are used to physical submissions of resumes, face-to-face interviews, and onboarding. But I'm pretty sure a lot of us have already used online job posts. There are also ways to conduct online assessment tests. Interviews can even be done through video calls. Squadsit actually has hired a number of people virtually. I've never seen a lot of them physically since the pandemic. And our platform can also keep track of the progress of applicants using our pipeline feature. So I hope that this session has been helpful. I'll be happy to share our remote work playbook. It's a PDF file with your teams, which provides more insight on how to keep your teams productive and work remotely. But before I wrap up, I'd like to leave you with a word from Mr. John Chambers. He's the executive chairman of Cisco Systems, and he made this back in 2015. So it is said that 40% of businesses will die in the next 10 years if they don't figure to change their entire company to adapt or accommodate new technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, it's almost 2022. If what Mr. Chambers said was true, then this means some businesses only have about 3 years left. Honestly, so how can we help? Okay, let me show you. With so many tools out there, it is important that you equip your teams with the right ones. So what we wanted to do was to make a business tool that was as simple and intuitive as a social mobile app, yet combine that with the power and intelligence of an enterprise platform. Here's what Squadsit can offer your businesses today.
For those businesses with reasons to keep pushing forward, introducing Squadsit, the digital extension of your office, where teams can plan, report, collaborate, monitor, and uncover insight as easily as using social media. Employees can time in from anywhere. Reports are fast and easy, can be pre-configured for different teams and work scenarios. Think of it as the central hub for all your team's interactions. Each report takes around 2 minutes or even less, and instantly get organized into your private company wiki. On top of this, Squadsit quantifies these reports, key activities, and performance indicators into powerful dashboards, analytics, and exportable reports, allowing your team to save time, work smarter, and more efficiently. Squadsit extends the walls of your office, so teams can work safely from anywhere.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Please reach out if you want us to arrange a live demo or have a free 30-day trial for your teams. Thank you so much, everyone. Jelly, back to you.
Thank you, Raymond. You know what? The way I see it, the processes are important, but so is choosing the right tools for your team. You already got an invite from Raymond right there. Reach out. Okay. So he can probably put in his details over in the chat section so you know exactly how to get in touch with him. Certain barriers can lead to delays, and I can now see why adaptability and accessibility are relevant aspects to implement. Raymond tackled the different barriers preventing companies from digitizing and the possible solutions as well. You know, personally, I discovered all of these tools during the pandemic, and I am mighty glad that all of these companies were already pandemic ready. Adobe Acrobat, I have that. I get to host thanks to Microsoft Teams, especially Zoom. So grateful for all of these technologies. We will now move on to our next speaker. I hope you are ready for this. Please do message us if you have any concerns, if you have questions for any of our speakers, Anna, Raymond, the upcoming ones. Please send it over to the Q&A box again to give us enough time to collate all of those questions. Here is our next speaker. He is a human resources professional and a lawyer with more than 14 years of combined experience from IBM, CGI, SC Johnson, and the Energy Regulatory Commission prior to Sprout. He is also the HR mentor of Thames International's Innovative and Creative Entrepreneurship Program, a fellow of the Arellano Law Center for Legal Education and Research, and an instructor at the Philippine Law School teaching labor law. To share his insights on how best to start your digital journey and what are the important aspects to consider, please welcome Attorney Lester Ople.
Thank you, Jelly. Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Raymond and Anna, for your insights earlier. It's interesting because Anna shared, the macro level context of the market, and then Raymond was sharing about specific tools that can be applicable to your operations. But for me, I'll be going in between what Raymond and Anna shared earlier. I'll be talking about how digital solutions can actually help break the digital divide. Let me just share my presentation. Oops, I seem to be stuck. Okay. So I would like to invite you to go to our website. This is the Sprout website. You can scan it. You can scan the QR code below, and you can download a complimentary copy of our Uncovering Work from Home in the Time of COVID-19 survey. And in this survey, we conducted towards the first ECQ sometime after the first 2 weeks of the lockdown. We were able to find out that of our respondents, about 72% of the companies were already working from home, while 28% were not working from home. This represents the split that was given by the government at that time, the IATF, particularly certain segments that were not considered essential at that time. The wheels of the economy had to continue turning, so we were pleasantly surprised to find out that 72% of our respondents were able to successfully shift to remote work. In that survey, and remember this was done sometime March, April, we still see that the number one roadblock that needs to be addressed is more than half of the respondents cite poor internet connection as their number one roadblock to a successful transition to remote or hybrid work. Additionally, we also were able to see that laptops were not that ubiquitous at that time, because some of the companies still had a lot of desktops in facility, and they were transitioning from deploying desktops to their remote workers to laptops for ease of transportation and security. Additionally, it was also interesting to note that around 7% of the survey respondents cite limited information on data security as their self-created concern. This is something that I think we in the management teams need to pay attention to, because this is a self-rate thing. Now, this means that uh, individual respondents feel that they have limited information on data security and information security, but that does not mean that there's actually more than 7% that are comfortable in their knowledge on data privacy and security. So that's another area that we all have to be conscious about. But we are happy to share that Sprout during that time was able to help a lot of companies move to remote work setups by enabling digitized HR transactions delivered via secure cloud applications. And when we were able to implement all of these transitions to remote work, we were able to observe three common themes for companies who were able to successfully shift to digital. So the first one is a tone shift. There has to be tone from the top regarding digital strategy, and this has to be in the form of, in the case of HR transformation, we see that there is a C-level or a very senior level executive driving the change that, hey, we have to move to digital really soon. Second is the metrics shift. After embarking on a digital transformation journey, Raymond and Anna mentioned this earlier as well, that the metrics that we measure for productivity and business outcomes have to be responsive to the way that we deliver work. We cannot be tied anymore to the 8-hour shift as a measure of productivity. We now have to move into outcome-based management. And lastly, very specific actions have to be shown across all levels of the organization, so that everyone across all levels of the organization, from the rank and file all the way to the executive C-suite, there has to be very clear and unequivocal acts that signify that the organization has already moved to a pure digital strategy. Now, this is my last slide. And how does Sprout actually facilitate these three keys when we have organizations that embark on HR digital transformation? So the first one is that Sprout enables the shift to digital by being present in every HR transaction across all levels in the organization. Everyone needs to file a leave. Everyone needs to pay SSS PhilHealth Pag-ibig. So by being ubiquitous across all levels of the organization on a very cyclical calendar for HR transactions, the digital strategy permeates the whole the whole journey of an employee, as they are hired, as they are receiving pay, as they are receiving benefits, and as they go on their employment history with the organization. Second, by enabling a very secure cloud-based HR system as well as data analytics, we're able to drive business decisions in HR at all levels of the organization. Analytics is king, as they say these days now, and especially for our friends in the professional and hospitality services sector, a lot of the labor legal exposure that you have on the labor front will always talk about what analytics or what decision making process was derived for a decision to reduce your workforce or to shift around people, or any other personal actions that you can think of. And lastly, by allowing your HR team to shift away from a very transactional framework, instead of just minding payroll, leave management, and all of the cyclical transactions in HR, you now allow your HR team to shift to strategic HR initiatives, particularly performance and succession management and the overall people experience. And I hope that this prompts you to think about digital strategies, particularly in the field of HR and operations delivery management. Please feel free to visit our website and our socials. We do conduct a lot of webinars as well with Globe and at Sprout. So please visit our socials, and we hope to be able to assist you as you face the future of work. Back to you, Jelly.
Thank you very much, Attorney Lester. I like that. As you face the future of work, we already have a question that's been sent in by Noreen over on the chat. Thank you very much for that, Noreen. We will collate all of these questions that you are sending in, and we will have all of our presenters back a little bit later on. So do watch out for that. If you have any question that you would like to address during the webinar, please send that over. Otherwise, it will be when you meet up with the Globe account managers. Thank you again to Attorney Lester. Now, with those three key strategies, looking for the right balance, especially since your industry deals with a lot of customer interactions, you will come to realize that there is no such thing as a one size fits all, so to speak. We still need to look for the right balance on implementing these strategies. I know some of you are already itching to ask questions, so feel free to type it on the chat box or the Q&A box. It's sort of down below, so you can just type that in. That way we get to see all of those questions, and we will bring them up one by one during the panel discussion. Like I said, Anna, Raymond, and Attorney Lester will be back. But we have now come to my favorite segment, the Fireside Chat. I would like to introduce to you two very interesting thought leaders in the ICT industry of today. First, he is the chief architect for Zscaler's Asia Pacific business and is based in Singapore. He has over 20 years experience in the IT industry, focusing on various aspects of internet security and content delivery. A virtual round of applause, please, for Mr. Lee Dolson. Good morning, Lee.
Good morning. Thank you, Jelly. It's great to be here.
And I think that's the good thing about the situation that we are in. Even though you are based in Singapore, you are joining us as well, right?
Yeah, it was all virtual these days.
Aside from Lee, he will be joined by the Vice President for Products and Innovation of Globe Telecom's Digital Solutions Group, responsible for product development and management, service delivery, and operations of various B2B and B2C services of Globe. Prior to Globe Telecom, he was in the financial industry, working as an investment banker specializing in corporate finance. Another virtual round of applause, please, for Mr. Christopher Chang.
Hi, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning, Sir Chris. Hi, Chris and Lee. All right, we'll get right into it. Raymond previously emphasized why productivity has made workflows a lot easier to move from an on-premise setup to a hybrid model. And then Attorney Lester addressed what the common roadblocks are for companies wanting to adapt to digitalization. He also showed the key strategies of shifting to a digital-ready organization. A classic example will be how we now hold seminars or webinars like the one we are having having right now. Webisodes or virtual events, all of these are connected via the internet and the use of different online communication platforms to interact and exchange ideas. So on that note, Chris, would you like to talk about how Globe has helped companies shift towards digital transformation and how the network transformation supports this initiative, especially now that hybrid work setup is a must? Chris?
Sure, thanks. I guess at Globe, we're actually quite lucky because we started on our digital transformation journey very, very early. And I've actually been in Globe for a while, so I actually went through that myself, where we actually shifted to what was then known as Google for Business from another system. We shifted to Google for Business, which is now known as Google Workspace. And I'm not just talking about the Gmail portion and the Google Calendar portion about it only, but over time, and it did take quite a bit of time, but Globe did adapt, to almost the entire suite of solutions from Google. Basically, Globe runs on Google Workspace from Google Meet. We are a huge user of Zoom as well, but not everybody has a pro license. So Google Meet is is in use every single day. A lot of the stuff that we fill up for HR is in Google Forms. For all of our apps, even non-Google apps that we use, the authentication is using Google. So we found out very early that because of that shift, it enabled all of the people or Globe employees to really work from anywhere, even before the pandemic came in. So that's a big portion of what we're doing. We've been selling the Google Suite for a number of years, the Office 365 as well, a little bit after. And that's why we bring in partners like Squadsit and Sprout, and other line of business solutions providers to be able to help with the digital transformation journey. So that's on the application side. Now, on the network side, of course, with a hybrid work environment, the network, of course, now needs to adapt, where previously the network was very, very closed, and the best way they say to secure a network is to make it so only people in the office can actually use it. In a hybrid work environment, obviously that will no longer work.
Yeah.
So how should now the network adapt to allow secure connectivity, to connect branches, and to enable access to applications that that need to be within the confines of the office data center, or the virtual private cloud. So this is an area where Globe is helping as well, and that's why we do have a number of infrastructure-based solutions to help with that, because the network will need to be redesigned as well. And finally, as people now, previously everybody kind of works from the office, and if you remember, back then, if you have somebody connecting from Zoom, a bunch of people are in a meeting room, one or two people are from Zoom, and you're running it off a laptop. It's very difficult to hear the guy, and the infrastructure in the office isn't really set up that way. But on a day-to-day basis, if we're now hybrid, how should even the office infrastructure adapt? Do you now need to set up more, smaller breakout rooms for fewer people? Because Globe has been doing hybrid workspace for some time before Delta. And the big problem was that if you're in a Zoom meeting, if one or two people are in the office, it's very disruptive to a certain extent, because the person beside them in their desk, and Globe has an open plan workspace, is also in a Zoom meeting, in another Zoom meeting, and the sound bleeds out from one workspace to another. So given that, if the workspace setup will now adjust, how should the network also adjust in the office to be able to adapt to this environment? So these are areas where Globe can help design solutions to these problems.
And I think the reason that Globe is the perfect partner to design all of these solutions is because, just like you've shared, the company has been in this transformation, whether digital and network transformation, even before the pandemic. So you've already sort of come across the possible problems, you've created the solutions, you've come up with the solutions. It's tried and tested even before it is presented to partners. Thank you so much for that, Chris. All right, we are now going to chat with Lee. Lee, for those who are not familiar with Zscaler, tell us a bit more about your company.
Yeah, so Zscaler was founded in, it was 2007 or 2008, and our current CEO is the founder, Jay Chowdhury, and what he saw at that time was, and honestly, it was a bit ahead of his time, but it's great because it gave us a lot of time to develop the platform to where it is today. But he saw the shift of everything shifting to cloud, right? And he also thought, this you can't have this model where my security is in a network. And back to that castle and moat model that Chris was talking about, your security is over here, but your users and your apps are in the cloud. That's not going to work. The security has to be built into the cloud. And so that's fundamentally what Jay set out to build, is this cloud native platform that can also scale. Because when you think about this big shift, there's multiple axes of scale going on here. You're building a platform that needs to handle new customers being onboarded, and we're seeing exponential growth in terms of the new customers being onboarded to the platform. But you're also seeing exponential growth of cloud utilization, right? Individual customers that are using the cloud, their traffic is going exponentially up year over year. So you have to scale on that axis as well. And then the third axis is just in the security, the threat landscape. 10 years ago, we could do security very differently on blacklist versus whitelist. These days, the bad guys use the cloud just as much as the good guys. You really have to have really comprehensive security that can look at the content, look at the actual attack. And so you're scaling on that vector as well. So, building a cloud native solution that can do that was one of the big things we set out to do, and very successfully. And it's very difficult for other vendors to do that when the traditional, what we see is a lot of the landscape is still building these on-premise security boxes that, okay, I'll take a virtual version of that and I'll try to run that in the cloud. But all the same challenges you have with traditional on-premise network architectures, if you try to do that virtually in the cloud, there's big challenges there. So those are, so that's a lot of what Zscaler then is about, is building this platform that allows customers to come on this transformation journey and leverage the cloud, not just for security, but for optimizing users and their access to apps.
Thanks, Lee. Now, when it comes to cost efficiency and the idea of preparing for future outbreaks, how does a company ensure that their employees are equipped with a sudden change in their work environment? Lee?
Yeah. So business continuity is definitely, it's top of mind, and there's a few angles there. Number one is the apps, right? And Squadsit did a great overview of the apps themselves. If you still have a lot of your file sharing and collaboration that's sitting in the data center, now is the perfect time to start doing that. I think that, the thing is, what we saw for a lot of organizations, that cloud journey is already well along, like Chris was saying with Globe. Globe's been on that journey for a long time as well. So a lot of organizations have some of those tools. And that's partly why I think COVID wasn't necessarily as huge a nightmare as everyone, for a lot of organizations, it was a really rapid pivot because the SaaS world was here and ready. But the other part of it is the fact that you still have to secure it. And so as an industry, the network, like Chris was saying, has been, let me build my security around the actual network, this thing I can touch and feel. And the thing is, users aren't on that network, and we're realizing users may never come back to that network. And there's really, when you're looking at a network-based security approach and you're coming from that space, you really only have two options when it comes to how you're doing your security. One option, which is what actually the majority of organizations outside of financial services have been doing, is saying, well, the user's not on my network. I'll let them connect to SaaS and whatever internet stuff there is without any security. But that means all the security investment you had on the network, it's not helping you, right? And there's big compliance obligations you have there. There's we talk about Attorney Lester and some of the data. If you think about the different industries in hospitality, you have customer data that you have obligations around different, based on the countries you're operating in. Everyone has different compliance regulations around customer data. Likewise with Sprout, that's actual employee data, very sensitive employee data. You have compliance regulations around protecting that data. And so if you choose the option of, okay, well, if the user's not on the network, then I don't need to use the network security, then suddenly you're at risk. And that was okay to say, well, only a few percentage of my users are working from home. I'm going to go ahead and accept the risk that I'm actually not technically compliant there. But in a work from anywhere all the time mentality, you absolutely need to think about, how am I complying with my different regulatory? And if you're in the professional services industry, you've got NDAs with your customers around things. So that's sensitive data. You often take the compliance burdens of your customers is another thing. If you're working with this particular customer, their compliance burden around this project becomes your compliance burden. So security is also really important for that industry. So one option, which a lot of organizations have done, is, like I said, just don't secure the network traffic. I'll use the endpoint, but it's just whatever the customer's home broadband is in the ISP, that's all that's there for network security. So that's not a very good approach, right? That's very dangerous. The other option, which cuts to some of Attorney Lester's points that he made as well around challenges, is let's backhaul everything back to the network, because that's actually where my security is. And there's many challenges there, because suddenly you've got this network that wasn't designed for 100% of your users going from home. And so, Attorney Lester talked about the challenges around bandwidth. That's not always the user's home bandwidth. That's the data center bandwidth, right? And then you're causing major productivity issues, because often the rest of the equipment there is oversubscribed, and we have lots of customers talking about pain around all of that. So, what Zscaler is bringing is actually a third option. So instead of saying, I'm going to put my security in the network, and I'm somehow going to work with that, shifting the security to the cloud. So users are going to be routed to the nearest Zscaler data center. They're going to get security. Zscaler is peering with all the different cloud and SaaS providers. We're going to provide zero trust access, whether it's to your SaaS-based apps or even to your internal apps, and doing zero trust in a way that never takes the users onto the network. So when Chris is saying, how do we re-architect the data center? The data center doesn't go away. You still have apps hosted there. Maybe you do more virtual data center, but we can leverage zero trust principles to get users to those apps, again, working from anywhere. And we've got great references of customers who have done this, like National Australia Bank is a public reference. And during COVID, they were already a Zscaler customer, but they rapidly adopted this zero trust architecture to avoid having to upgrade their VPN infrastructure. And we have other good references. Edelweiss is another one that you can. These are just some public ones I'm mentioning. You can follow up and go to the Zscaler website and check that they were already a Zscaler customer, and they just did some case studies just around how painless the COVID shift was for them. And so those are some good examples.
Thank you very much, Lee. That last statement of yours, painless. That's exactly what companies want right now. They want to transition. They want to go digital. They want it to be as painless as possible. And when we talk about that, I think it's also essential that we bring up pain points and possible solutions that we need to look into, given that this hybrid setup is here to stay. It's already becoming a norm. Chris, do you have anything to say with regards to these pain points and possible solutions?
I think Lee really hit the nail on the head, and a lot of these issues are important, and that's why Globe has partnered with Zscaler as well, because these are absolutely critical issues. So that's, again, one half of the equation. Maybe now, I guess you can argue it's 2/3 of the equation, because so many things are in the cloud now. But again, the physical network, the office network, the branch networks, connecting the branches to this larger network, and when we talk about hybrid, it's not just hybrid work environments, but in terms of the infrastructure, it's hybrid as well, where a bunch of stuff is in the cloud and a bunch of stuff is in the data center, and you have to connect the offices and the branches all together. So that's why other than partnering with Zscaler, Globe also partnered with a company called Aruba. So Aruba sort of handles the network infrastructure piece, where Lee talked about zero trust. So that's an important element of the Aruba solution that we work with as well. In that it does set up zero trust networks. We saw very interesting stories of some companies early in in lockdown actually commandeering hotels and turning them into offices for people, just so people don't have to go to the head office and risk widespread infection. um, we've heard of some customers setting up remote offices. That way people are at less risk from the commutes, the long commutes, and again centralizing everybody in an office. For all of this to work, flexibility now in the network is the key, because you have everybody showing up in this remote office. If they don't have internet and if they can't connect securely, then what are they going to do in this office? So that's why the infrastructure solution is important, and the ability for the infrastructure solution, with things like zero touch provisioning, meaning you configure all of these network elements before you even deploy. Once you go to the site, you just plug it in and it all works. Of course, zero trust security is important, and the ability to centrally manage all of these network elements. That way, again, you're very flexible in moving stuff around, setting up and breaking down these networks very, very quickly. That's important. And by the way, Aruba has been a long-time partner of Zscaler as well. So we think that there's a very strong complement that's important and that we can help with when it comes to security in the cloud as well as in the physical sites through our suite of products.
Thank you very much for that, Chris. Thank you for that delightful dialogue, Chris and Lee. But at this point, I would like to call back the rest of our speakers, Raymond, Attorney Lester, and Anna, to please join in on our panel discussion. Welcome back, everyone. Sharing the screen with everybody now. So if you have any questions for any of our presenters, please send it over to our Q&A box or the chat section, preferably the Q&A box. That way it's easier for us to spot it. I'll ask the question to Anna, who was our first presenter for today. What do you think is the first step to recovery that our clients can consider taking, given that the outlook of their industry is still challenged?
Thanks, Jelly. I think this is a question that everybody gets lost in, right? Because where do you start? Because everybody says digitize, but how do you even get started? So I I'm gonna keep this short, but the most important part is to take a stock take. And when you do a stock take, it's really answering the question of what can you do in the meantime, right? What can you do, and what are we prepared to? How can we prepare for the future when it eventually recovers, right? Because at this point, there's not a lot of activity out there, but we're not completely helpless as well. There will be small things that will add up, and that will, you're gonna, think of 5 years down the line, you're gonna thank yourself for starting now, even though it's super small.
I like that. Sort of like this phase is your preparation phase, but in the meantime, you should also already take an action, especially since you did mention earlier during your presentation that in the next we're looking towards probably the end of this year or next year, this will be the fastest growing economy, right? I remember that from your presentation. Still on you, Anna, with the technology that is being utilized in businesses, what do you think can further exacerbate the digital divide in employees?
Okay, well, this is something that we don't like to talk about for sure, but it has to be something that we acknowledge, right? Because technologies are one thing, definitely, but then there are many other things surrounding this that could actually impact effectiveness. One is the mindset of the organization directly, right? You need to have, once you're shifting online, your mindset needs to shift as well in the metrics and everything in between. That's one. Second is infrastructure. Technologies may be there, but if it's limited at the roots, there's not much we can do. Finally, of course, is training and capacity building, because again, the tools may be there, the technologies may be there, but if the people that are supposed to be using them are not trained and equipped to actually make the most out of them, then we're missing out on a lot of opportunities. So to summarize, I would say mindset, infrastructure, and trading. this could make things worse still, despite the presence of technologies.
Thank you very much, Anna. I hope all of our attendees are taking down notes. If you have any questions, please send it over to our chat box, or like I said, preferably the Q&A box. That way we get to see it quickly right away, and we can address those queries to our speakers and presenters this morning. Raymond, can you share a notable experience with a client that has availed of your services and pivoting from manual and paper-heavy tasks into a simplified work tool? What were their hesitations in the beginning?
It's a fantastic question, Jelly. Thank you. We've met with clients, especially in a pharma setting, medical devices setting, construction company, and even agri companies that have not used any digital platform aside from emails and Bible. So that's how they interact with their teams within that province, within the nation, and it really causes some issue or challenge. And when we asked what was their hesitation, they mentioned that they have tried traditional platforms before and failed miserably. Similar to what Anna had mentioned, it's really for some companies, it's the mindset. If you started with a small team, you're happy managing 5 people, 10 people, it gets okay. But once you start handling 20, 30, 40, 50, as you scale your business up, it gets more difficult, gets complicated. So the mindset is the first thing that you need to change. The leadership need to be open to the new technologies available. Number 2 is infrastructure. You're right. You need to have the right tool that matches the team that you have currently. And of course, the support or training that you need has to be present there. So I totally agree with what Anna said. And these are basically the hesitations. Trying out the traditional enterprise platform is scary for a lot of businesses because of the cost involved, which is why our platform offers a free 30-day trial, which we hope to bridge that gap and lessen the fear of a loss of revenue or a loss of spending for a platform that doesn't really fit. So that's basically what I can answer for that.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Raymond. For Attorney Lester, with human capital as our most valuable asset, what are the learnings that you have already experienced as a solutions partner?
That's a great question, Jelly. And I think Anna already gave a preview earlier, same with Raymond, regarding the most important aspect in how we deliver business, which is really we deliver business, especially the hospitality experience, through our people. We have noticed that significantly for about half of our clients, some of the clients who initiated discussions with us started with a top-down approach, others with a bottom-up approach. What do I mean by that? At the HR officer level, HR manager, HR business partner level, they were the ones who started reaching out to us, trying to get to know what we can offer in terms of HR transformation. And they were the ones who actually made the business case to their leadership teams. In about half the time that we were presenting to our executive prospects, rather, it was a top-down approach. That it was the executive who decided to embark on a digital transformation in HR, and they were really fielding out prospective suppliers or partners in their journey. And this underscores the importance of placing people first in any digital transformation experience. It's the mindsets, it's the attitudes, it's the behaviors. If we have that right mix of, it sounds a little better in Tagalog, no? It's the kalinga or the malasakit to the business and to our clients. That has to be, it has to be there for the business to still, thrive amidst all of the uncertainty that we have now.
Lester, do you think, or do you see the future of our services sector being able to adapt in this now normal setup, this hybrid work from anywhere setup?
Yes. On a personal note, no, I like sharing this whenever I can. I'm a severe COVID survivor, and I'm, the revenge travel. No, that's something that I think all of us are looking forward to. After that was like the whole of April. I was in the hospital the whole of April, and I really wanted to get out of the metro. Now, that's on a personal note, no, but from a macro perspective, we've seen that some of the businesses that we have now transitioning with Sprout into digital HR are they're taking the time that they have low demand or low operations demand for them to really upskill their workforce. Again, it's going back to people experience. How well equipped are their individual employees to face the new future of work, the new normal, the better normal. So I'm really looking forward to revenge travel and having the industry bounce back stronger.
You know what, Attorney Lester, hearing that personal experience of yours, we are mighty glad that you are well and you are safe and you are with us. I am just curious, have you already decided on where you are headed for your revenge travel?
I'm looking at Siargao and Bohol.
Oh, definitely. Okay. I'll head on over to Chris. I've got a question for you. Network is the foundation of all of these workflows. How does your team find avenues to extend the connectivity service beyond infrastructure?
Yeah, great question. Thanks a lot, Jelly. So earlier we were talking about the network changing and the network needing to be flexible, and that modern network architectures can now be managed in the cloud. They have things like zero touch provisioning, so it's easy to deploy and manage and change. But as you now deploy these things, all these toys, these nice expensive toys, and you need to move them around, the question is, who's going to keep the lights on? Because IT teams, traditional IT teams, particularly IT teams that are not used to, these sort of, significant or very quickly changing network environments, aren't actually built that way to support it. So this is another way that that Globe can help. We do have the experience, of course, as a telco service provider, running very, very large networks nationwide across thousands of sites. And we have used this track record internally, and in a way extended it, not in a way, but we have actually extended it to be able to help our customers run networks, or to run networks for customers. And this is everything from monitoring 24/7. So let's say in some of our customers, we actually tell the customer that, hey, your site here in this province or in this city is actually down, even before the customer calls us, because we actually monitor all of these. So with our suite of managed services, so the managed service piece, or the services piece, is an important part of keeping the lights on, which is just as important as the equipment piece and as the cloud solutions and applications piece, because all of these applications and the network needs to disappear eventually for the end user. And when the guy wakes up, he just logs in and everything just works. So somebody needs to keep the lights on, and this is an area that that Globe will be able to help. The other, of course, side benefit is that if you're now working with a partner to help keep the lights on, then you can now focus your IT people on more digital transformation projects. And that will lead to a virtuous cycle for the entire organization in your digital transformation journey.
Thank you for that, Chris. I've got a question coming in from Noreen Magsumbol, who is asking, the challenge we are currently facing is, how do we impose policies that we have in the office when they are working from home? This is more of our firewall policies. How can Zscaler be able to help with this? So, Lee?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer, and I'll go into a little more detail, but the short answer is, fundamentally what Zscaler is a cloud capacity to take all the things that you had in your firewalls and other on-premise security devices, and you can migrate those policies into the cloud. I think a misconception often comes because Zscaler is a leader in the secure web gateway quadrant of Gartner, and so a lot of people associate Zscaler with a web proxy. But that's largely because Gartner doesn't actually have any good quadrant to categorize what Zscaler really is. But we do cater to all traffic, all ports, all protocols, and so there's that's an important point to make. And probably more correct analog as you're thinking about this, as you're looking at industry analysts and things, is look at Gartner's SASE description, because that really fundamentally describes the core of what Zscaler is trying to do. It'll be interesting to see what Gartner releases around that. But the other angle to think about this when you're migrating firewall policies is your firewalls are typically doing two different things. Sometimes it's different firewalls, sometimes it's the same firewalls. But one thing it's doing is as your users are coming from the office and they're going out to the internet, to SaaS and open internet, this firewall is securing those things. And so Zscaler replaces that outbound capability with the cloud. The other thing your firewalls are doing are, inbound. And you may use your public website, your marketing websites, but there's maybe things your employees are using or your suppliers or business partners. Those things could potentially be moved behind zero trust principles. Instead of having them as an open attack surface, you can use zero trust principles to start to take those off the firewall. But then Zscaler will still work in conjunction with your data center firewalls with whatever you might still want to use them. But we largely take the user traffic to going to the internet off of that infrastructure. And then we look at how do we align with it to use more and more zero trust principles for connecting to things that are still in the data center or still in your infrastructure as a service.
Lee, since I've got you on Spotlight, from a recent Ernst & Young publication, companies have a centralized access to applications and work tools. Fast forward to today, majority is actually done remotely and structural adjustments need to be complied with. What is a quick and easy way that our clients can immediately do to assess if their business has security vulnerabilities?
Yeah, there's actually a couple tools that we have on the Zscaler website that just make it very quick and very easy. So if you go to the zscaler.com and click on resources and tools, there's two tools that are really relevant for this question. One, we call it security preview. You can also just go directly to securitypreview.zscaler.com. That's actually going to show you what are the security controls in place from a network layer. And so back to that firewall question, we can very easily, typically what we see is we can add on a lot more security controls than you have today. So that can really look at what's your internet security gap. The other tool there is it's a network exposure analysis report that, back to the other point I talked about, you probably have a lot of applications that are deployed. Some are marketing things for anybody to go to, but others are possibly only for employees or supply chain. So that tool is called Network Exposure Detection. Again, it's there under resources. And you go through that and we'll generate a report for you to show you here's the entire application landscape that you're advertising. And you can start to look at that and work with us and what are the things I can move behind zero trust.
Thank you very much.
If I can interject as well.
Okay, sure, go right ahead.
Yeah, the other way, of course, in addition to that, is you can talk to an expert. And Globe has been really talking about cybersecurity for a number of years now. And Globe actually has a cybersecurity service that we've had for a number of years now that can help for everything from assessment all the way to threat detection, threat hunting, remediation, basically the works. So do give your friendly account manager a call. We do have the resources available. As you can imagine, Globe being Globe, we have a very, very strong security practice internally as well. And similar to our sort of managed services or capability, we've been able to extend our internal capabilities to our customers also. So do give your account managers a call, and maybe that's an area that we can help as well.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thanks to Lee. And thank you, everyone, to Anna, to Raymond, and to Attorney Lester. This is your team right here. Get in touch with the Globe account managers because we intend to break that digital divide. Now, I wish we had more time, but we don't want to keep everyone longer than expected. Thank you very much to all of our wonderful speakers. You have Anna, Raymond, Attorney Lester, Lee, and Chris. Appreciate your presence. Your insights were very much helpful. And of course, Thank you for answering all of our audience's questions. I hope that you have all learned a lot from our expert speakers, because for sure I have. We do hope that these may be of excellent use as you move forward with digital acceleration. And do note that Globe Business and your account managers will be with you every step of the way and work with your enterprise. If you have any questions, you have any concerns, just get in touch with the Globe account managers and they will be more than happy to assist you and help you out with that. To formally close this session, please welcome on screen the industry head of the services sector, Ms. Jennifer Dolyasin.
Thank you, Jelly. Today is indeed a very productive session. Here in Globe Business, we are committed to you, our dear customers, in giving you the solutions that will address the glaring and immediate business requirements. Through engagements like this, we are able to update you with our solutions and offerings that Globe Business and our partners have to offer. Today, we shared with you our solutions that will support your esteemed businesses by showcasing the best solutions in the market, as well as offerings that automate workflows while still bridging them in the back-end requirement. In doing so, we will all be able to have a continuous dialogues as business partners. And this gives us more reason to ideate, create, and execute programs that fit your business goals. Special thanks to Raymond, Lester, Cleese, Lee, and Anna for gracing the event today. Again, this is Jen Delisin, and together, let us reclaim a better and braver tomorrow. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Miss Jen. Yes, indeed. Let us reclaim a better and a braver tomorrow. Thank you very much for that, Jen. Now, right after this session ends, a quick survey will pop up from your browser, or you may scan the QR code right now. Please do take a minute to answer so that we can use this to further improve our succeeding events. Once you complete the survey, there it is. Please scan that QR code. Once you complete the survey, you will receive a gift voucher code worth 500 pesos, which you can use to purchase 917 lifestyle items. So please scan that right now, or when the quick survey pops up, please accomplish that fully. Also, feel free to reach out to your Globe Business account managers for our other upcoming events and new developments. An absolute pleasure and honor being with all of you this morning. My name is Jelly Victor. Stay safe and enjoy the rest of the day. See you.